What's up guys, welcome back to Car Studio, and in today's video we are going to go over the details or the anatomy of a turbo M20. Right now this is just a couple days since I pulled the engine, and I want to keep these videos coming this week so you guys can follow me along with this, you know, quick motor swap slash build, I guess you could call it, or rebuild. It's already been built, but anyways, I wanted to make this video because I had so many questions when I was putting this car together, and before I even ordered the turbo stuff, I had done so much research and I had to go so many different places just to get an idea of how it all goes together on one of these engines, and it is far simpler than you would think. So while I have everything torn apart and my garage is an absolute wreck of motors hanging and parts and motors on a stand and heads on the ground and cars in the air and old sheriff cop cars that I'm flipping, I thought it was a good idea, since everything's taken apart, I can just go over the key components of the turbo kit and show you things like where your oil drain needs to go, like on the oil pan, for example, because people tend to get scared about, you know, too high or too low, and it's really not that complicated. So anyways, I'll walk you through it. We'll start at the top of the engine and work our way down. So let's start with the intercooler, okay? It looks a little weird not having the center headlights. I do plan on putting those back in eventually. I've got to do some modifications to get them to fit, because as you can see, the intercooler piping goes where the headlight buckets would be. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. I'll probably get some more like shallow headlights, but the reason I did that is because I wanted to keep air conditioning. A lot of people don't care about air conditioning. I however do. So if I were to mount it like most people do, with the intercooler the other way and the pipes underneath, possibly would have had to cut my lower valence or my cow catcher, which I didn't want to do. I didn't want to lose my fog lights. But the main reason was for the AC, and you know, as you can see, there's a lot of AC components in this area that I didn't want to do without, and I also didn't want to cut any of this. And I think, honestly, looking back now, the biggest issue would have been the compressor goes right here, and I think the intercooler piping would be right there where that AC compressor is. I'll show you on this engine. It's very big. I know the lighting's not that great in here, but the compressor is big. It bulges out the side of this block, and that's where the intercooler piping would go up. So routing it the way that I did, it's up high, it's above everything, and it just goes straight into here. So next, let's talk about the actual intercooler piping. So I'll show you from this angle how it goes. So as you can see, I still have my condenser, and then I have the radiator, and then in front of that is the actual intercooler, and it all fit in nicely. I didn't have to cut the grill or anything, and it's really tucked away in there. So that's how I decided to route the intercooler. The intercooler piping, this is another thing that I like, is I have minimal coupler, so I have a less chance of anything like the charge pipe blowing off or something. So as far as the charge pipe goes, it comes out of the intercooler right here. So we got one elbow here. We'll go over here to the other part of it, and next we have this pipe. It's a short one. We have a coupler there. That's just an adapter to fit this plate that does away with the factory air box. It's an AFM adapter. And then from there, you just have two more couplers. You've got one here to go to a 45-degree elbow. And this is a major key right here. So what this does is replaces the factory, rubber intake boot. Those are only good for like a few pounds of boost, and I kept blowing them out. Like every time it was under boost, it would blow a new crack or hole in, even new ones. So I did away with that, capped off some stuff. You have to put hose clamps on everything. I mean, I was only running 12 pounds of boost, and anything that's not clamped down very tightly is going to blow off. So the charge pipe side of things, very simple. And the turbo side is even more simple. So it comes out of here, just like on the other side, and it goes into this small pipe with the blow-off valve, which this was all included in the kit. And then you have a 90-degree elbow, which is down from a 2.5 inch to I think a 2 inch that goes into the actual turbo itself. So over here, moving on, this is the exhaust manifold. It's literally as simple as unbolting the factory exhaust manifolds. Remember, there's 2 of them on an M20. You take those off, get rid of your whole exhaust pipe, and bolt this one on, and turbo bolts to that. Mine was internally wastegated. If you buy a kit like this on eBay, you'll get the same thing. And I'm going to put a new link in the description, because there is still a kit identical to this for $700, and a lot of people's commented and said that the kit's now like $1,000 and then $2,000. Now it's up to like $6,000 in some places. There's still a $700 one. I don't know why they do that, but so here is the oil drain right here, and this comes with the kit, and it comes with some AN fittings. Let's go back over here. So here is the oil drain tube, and it just bolts to the bottom of the turbo. And then under here, I'll show you where it's welded to the oil pan. It's just kind of at the top of the oil sump, and I would advise you have a welder do it. The guy that welded this, I work with him, and it's where it's aluminum. There's quite a bit to it. I mean, he had to heat it up, and he welded it and made sure that heat was still where it needed to be, otherwise it can crack. So he did a really good job welding that bung in. That does come with the kit as well. So the whole oil drain tube kit, I'm pretty sure it came with the turbo kit. If not, you know, you just buy one, they're universal. Next, let's talk about oil feed. So this is just an oil pressure sensor. This piece right here I had to buy from another website, and I will try to put the link in the description. It's been a few years, but that was like 30 bucks, and it just changes the metric side of things to standard to 1/8 inch MPT. I think it's 20 something millimeter, 20 millimeter or something, I don't know the factory one, but yeah, change it to 1/8 MPT on this side. This T right here came with the turbo kit, I'm pretty sure, and then it also came with this oil feed line, and that just goes right up to the top of your turbo. So the oil feed and drain, that scared me when I was, you know, researching this, and there's really nothing to it. This is it right here. So a total of, you know, I don't know, 30 bucks in parts. I did have to buy a couple NPT fittings from Lowe's, and other than that, nothing scary about that, nothing major. And let's see, what next? Injectors, those are just green tops I had laying around. They're not even the same. Looks like some of them are newer than others, but I tested all of them. I put them in the car, and they're all flowing good, and like I said, the car pulls good. So yeah, there's that. Those are, if I'm not mistaken, 19 pounds. I tried 21 pound injectors in this originally, and it ran so good at wide open throttle, but terrible every other time. So from what I've researched, the DME in this car can't handle injectors that big without, you know, on its factory tune. So I got rid of that. While we're back here in the engine bay, let's talk about downpipe. Again, it's been a few years. I'm going to try and put all this in the description, links and things of these parts I'm talking about. If they don't come in the kit, I'll show you how to get them. So that is just a half-assed downpipe I made from Advance. Just pieces of exhaust from Advance. My exhaust shop would not touch it unless I got it underneath the car. So I bought two 90-degree elbows, welded them together to make that S, and then I had just a piece of scrap metal right there, a couple pieces actually, and then I got a V-band clamp like kit. That may have came with the turbo kit, I don't know. If it didn't, I'll put a link in the description, but it's nothing special, like a 2.5 inch or 3 inch, I can't remember, V-band, and I just welded that to the exhaust, and that's working perfectly fine. I mean, it's just a straight pipe, down pipe, nothing special about it. I do have some heat wrap to make it look a little bit better that I'm going to put on it, but after I did that, like I said, I had it under the car, it was just open down pipe. I took it to the exhaust shop and they ran me straight pipe all the way to the back to I think a MagnaFlow muffler is what I have on it. This is my air fuel ratio right here. I bought this bung. You can get a couple of those bungs for like, it's just an O2 sensor bung on eBay. I don't feel like I need to put a link to that. You guys can just search it. Just O2 sensor bung, and I just drilled a hole and welded that in myself, and there's your air fuel ratio. Oil filter. Let's talk about oil filter location. So a lot of people go with a remote mount oil filter. While that's a great idea and would make changing the oil a lot easier, I was doing this on a budget. What I did was I kept the factory oil filter, and I used that's a Mopar oil filter. It's a lot smaller than the factory one, or maybe not a lot, but just enough. I can put the part number to that. I got it it's at O'Reilly's. It was like a $5 oil filter, and I loosened the main bolt over here that holds the oil filter housing on. So right here, my car has a factory oil cooler, so it's got this like adapter, that big bolt right there. So I loosened that and essentially clocked the oil filter to where it was, you know, at an angle like kind of up, and that was all I needed to do to clear the turbo manifold. So that's the issue with the factory oil filter, is the turbo manifold is in the way. And you know, if you do what I did, it's free besides the cost of an oil filter, and it works just the same. One last thing I want to mention: if you watched some of my older videos going over the eBay turbo kit, I think I mentioned it before, but make sure you are venting your crankcase to atmosphere or an oil catch can. I made that mistake the first time I drove this car. I had the factory hose that goes, I don't know if I have it laying over here, but there's a hose at the top of the valve cover, and it snakes under the intake and goes back into the intake. And on, you know, every other car there'd be like a PCV valve there. On these, it just burns that excess, you know, byproduct or whatever from the crankcase back into the intake to just burn off repetitively. When it's under boost, when you do that, what happens is you backfeed that boost down into the crankcase, and it will blow out all of your seals. It'll make your car smoke like crazy. It'll blow oil everywhere. So I drove the car, I don't know, a few miles like that, and it was smoking, but it was running great and pulling hard. So I thought, I didn't know what I was thinking. I was just happy to have a turbo car, a turbo E30. But guys, if you have any questions, feel free to message me. My email is on my YouTube bio, and also comment in the comment section. That'd be the fastest reply. If you look at my old videos, always replying to everybody, giving them you know, tips and advice and answering questions about this build. This is just a budget-friendly, cheap build. I drive this car on the weekends and the shows here and there, and it's a fun car. I didn't want to go over the top and have thousands of dollars in it. I literally have $1,200 in this, and I gained 100 wheel horsepower. If you go to the E30 build playlist, you'll see all the videos I have on this car, and some of them are way more in depth than this one and answer a lot of E30 questions. So again, comment if you have any questions or suggestions. I also accept